Yeah, I had to make sure I unmuted that mic before we get to talking here. What is up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of SEC Talk with Holden and Cody. We're live.
Again.
We're together again. We've got a little bit better setup looking like we're going on here. Got the new logo in the background that we're going to be updating some stuff, making some stuff look cool. And that is a shout out to Crossroad Vinyls who created this for us. Do all kind of vinyl stuff between putting decals on your car, between making shirts. Hit them up. Check them out on Facebook. They've got some good stuff for you there. Cody, we're here. We're finally here.
A day away. 24
is.
hours.
It is football season, and the SEC is finally kicking off. How do you feel? Let's see. How many days did we say we got left? Technically, it is what, one?
It's less than one.
1 day. Yeah, we got it on the screen there.
It's like.
Yeah,
kick off at
12 o'clock, so it's,
what,
we're shooting this at 6:30. We're not far from
18 hours from time of recording on Friday, September 25th.
So, even though it says days, technically we only
didn't
have...
get that far into the countdown, guys.
Technically we only have hours. I had a countdown pulled up at one point that I was like, I'll put that up there, and, well, guess what? I didn't put it up there, so, you know.
Production costs, man, production costs. Budget cuts had to be made.
That's one way to look at it. But anyway, so a few things that we're going to go through here, run through a little bit of a rundown. We're going to go through the news. We do it every week. You kind of should know that by now if you've been listening to us long enough. Going to go through some of the wide receiver ratings around the SEC. Most everything we're going to base in the SEC this week, obviously, since we're kicking off. Finally, do a little bit. I think they came out with the preseason East and West rankings. We got some of the toughest schedules. We got some win percentages to throw at you before we finally...
The softest schedule for the SEC?
Yeah, before we finally... And it's kind of hard to say that, you know, because, I mean, everybody's playing a 10-game slate against one another, but...
Who got the short
end of the sticks?
Or who got the long sticks in that draw?
Yeah.
The toughest schedule, they got the short end of 2 sticks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And then
they're getting beat both ways with it.
Finally, we'll get to your games that are coming up tomorrow. We've only got, one game, I think you said, today?
Yes, we have one game. Well,
not in the SEC, but...
One game played yesterday in Detroit. And
it's UAB and South Alabama.
And South Alabama played yesterday.
UAB looks good.
And then, I mean, they made a good comeback off a couple of years ago. You know, they canceled that football program 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then they had a private... donator said that he'd pay for the said that he'd pay for the program. They said, I mean, if you think you can afford it, he said, I can afford it here.
Yeah, I'd like to meet that guy and shake his hand and tell him, hey, I got a program we can get started here. It's called SEC Talk Podcast. How about that?
We'll take donations, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll open up the patronage where you guys, if y'all want to send us something, we'll keep this thing rolling. Moving on into it, once we finish up with our normal stuff, we're going to do some picks, which will be fun. New segment that's going to come up that we'll get to. And we're actually going to do our predictions for the college football playoff this season. We're not going to give you our winner just yet. We may hold off and maybe do that next week.
Well, probably, I'll say we wait a couple weeks so we can see what teams look like. When we make some changes,
that's a good idea.
We may tinker some of the stuff because we'll go ahead and start off with the news. The biggest news is all 5 power conferences are playing in the 2020 football season.
The Pac-12 decided to come around.
Finally decided, you know what? We're the redhead stepchild of this group. We might as well finally play. I had to say it. If you're on the podcast, the reason I said it is because I am the ginger.
Yeah. If you're not watching us visually there. By the way, follow the link. You can watch us on YouTube if you don't already watch us there. It's funny watching 2 goofy-looking guys do this thing, and we put a lot of work into the visual side of this. So check it out. Sorry, go ahead.
It may not pay off, but anyways.
No, that's right.
But Pac-12 did finally come out and say that they are playing in the 2020 season. They're only playing a 7-game conference. I don't see how you can even say, we're going to play, but we're going to play 7 games. That's stupid.
We're going to see. And the reason behind it is because they don't have enough time.
Well, they waited too late.
I know.
My thing is, the Pac-12 and Big Ten both had the same amount of time as the ACC, SEC, and Big 12.
Yeah.
Those 3 said, we're going to play. Instead of, jumping the gun, saying, "Oh, we're not playing. We're going to cancel our season."
Yeah.
Which I know there were restrictions in California that were prohibiting them to play.
Yeah. And
Which I can understand that.
They're still, I think they've gone in and they actually put
adjusted,
in a waiver to be able to play. I mean,
you could have done that before the season even started.
No, you're right. And looking here, they're not starting the season until November 6th.
A week before the Big Ten.
Week after,
or
a week or two. But they're like he said, they're only going to play 7 games, and their championship is still going to be on the 18th. Which I think the 18th, isn't that a Friday?
I think so.
Because the 19th, I think, is the SEC, and I believe that falls on a. Well, I don't know.
Yep, Friday.
Championship
18th is on Friday. Championship for
SEC should be
is the week after, or no, is the
next day
Saturday.
on Saturday.
Next Saturday.
I don't know how in the world 7 games. Obviously, they're going to get it in, but
you're going to be pushing your timetable.
No.
And plus, I think it was Big 12 or Big 10 was saying that they wanted a grievance with the committee because they're not playing as many, or they're playing less number of games. But here's the kicker: you're playing less number of games halfway through the season.
Yeah.
That's your issue. Like, what do you want? Do you want to be babied because you decide, we're going to wait and play? No. I mean, if you can't come out and start with everybody else, and I understand, there were regulations and everything going on with coronavirus going on, which is fine. But these other 3 conferences had the same, well, not even 3. You had, several other conferences playing through the country had the same issues you had with the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Sunbelt, we look at them like they're the under the radar teams.
Yeah.
Well, they had the same issues that everybody else had. Follow protocol, follow the rules set by NCAA's team. They followed, and they followed what everybody else was doing.
And they've been playing for a couple of weeks before. Obviously, even before the SEC.
I think the Sun Belt could replace the Pac-12.
Let's be honest. The Pac-12 is not going to be in the playoff this year.
No.
You'll see when we get to the playoff prediction. Anyway, Pac-12 is not in there. I don't care if a team goes 7-0. All I'm going to do is look at you if you're 7-0 and go, congratulations.
The last time a Pac-12 team was in playoffs was when Oregon played.
That's been a few years.
When they played
Auburn. Was that?
2013 or 2012.
No, we weren't even in playoffs then. That was
BCS.
Still, BCS. So,
and they got beat by Auburn.
It's been a little while.
Because that's when they had Cam Newton, ain't it?
Yeah, that would have been the year 2010.
2010. It was 2010. Was the last time I think a Pac-12 team's been.
May have been.
We'll look this up real quick. Hold on.
You look it up. I'm gonna roll on with a couple other. We do have a couple of cancellations. Haven't seen anything in the SEC as of Friday evening right now, unless something has dropped and I just hadn't seen it. I'm going to look through a couple that we have here around the league at least. You do have number 7 Notre Dame in the Wake Forest game. That game has been postponed. Georgia State Charlotte, that one's been postponed. Tulsa Arkansas State, postponed obviously. South Florida Florida Atlantic. And the last one I'm looking at is North Texas and Houston. And I read something that I actually heard yesterday was Houston has had 5 games already that have been canceled, and none of them have been their fault. I think last week they scheduled a game. It got canceled. They went ahead and rescheduled another one, I believe, with Baylor. It got canceled. So that was 2 in 1 week. You have the week previous, the week before that, and what was technically, I guess, week 0.
Yeah.
And then this week, 5 games that have been canceled, and not a single one has been Houston's fault. I'm sure they've had some, cases maybe pop up with coronavirus, but they haven't had anything that's going to cause them to have to cancel or postpone a game. Unbelievable for them. Out of the ACC, Mike Norvell there at FSU, he is going to be the first coach that has coronavirus and will not be able to coach, I think, at least in the I guess maybe in Power 5. I don't think anybody even along the FBS and lower leagues like Fun Belt, stuff like that. Fun Belt, Sun Belt, same thing. I don't believe any coaches have been out, but I think the word was that the last communication that he can have with his team is when they go into the field, he can no longer have any communication with them. So it's not going to be kind of like what I think was Hugh Freeze did from a hospital bed in the press. So it's not going to be anything like that. But they've got confidence in the OC there. I think that's going to be stepping in that head coach's spot. Did you find something on there?
The last time there was a Pac-12 team in the playoffs was Washington.
Oh, I forget about Washington.
And they got blown out.
Was that just a couple years ago?
It was in 16.
Yeah, so only 4 years ago.
Only 4 years. It was right at the start of the playoffs.
Yeah.
First year of the playoffs. And they played Alabama and lost.
Yeah. What was the first year? Was it 2015?
14. It was
14.
Was
Okay.
the first year.
Well, hey, you'd think this is some information. So, like he said, they're not. They hadn't been in a while. They might find themselves back in, but that's the last I remember seeing was.
Oregon was the last. They played in 14.
That was 14.
Lost national championship to Ohio State.
Yeah. So.
But still.
Yeah. It's yeah. And Washington, no knock on them, but I mean they're a good team. But I still think if you go 7-0 and you're playing, you have the odds. All right, you've gone 7-0. You played 7 games, and I don't know what the committee is going to do. We'll see. Who knows if they do give them a little bit of leeway with it. But if you go 7-0, and you have an SEC team that's going 10-0, 9-1, 8-2, I would still take you over a 7-0 Pac-12 team.
Yeah, I mean,
or even
do you take a 2-loss?
Or even what is the Big Ten doing? 9 games?
9.
So I would still take a 9-0 Big Ten, Ohio State, Michigan.
I'd take an
Wisconsin,
8-1 Ohio State
Minnesota,
over a
somebody
7-0 Pac-12.
Yeah.
I mean,
just like I would take a 9-1 or even possibly an 8-2 SEC.
SEC over a 7-0 Pac-12.
I'll tell you this: I will take Clemson at 9-1. They're playing 11 games. I would take Clemson at 9-2 over a 7-0 Pac-12 team, and
because
that may be wrong. Well, let's jump back in some other news outside of the Pac-12. Austin Peay, I believe they've canceled their season.
They canceled their season already.
I think they said last week they did a little bit for the seniors and basically made it like a senior night because they've only played 2 or 3 games.
No, was it? Hold on.
Not very many. Maybe 4 at most. They may have played week 0, but I think they've gone ahead and canceled their season. I'll let you look that up. And the last piece of news that I've got written down here for us is that Perdue's Rondale Moore has opted back into the season. And I think now that you've got Pac-12, Big Ten, all Power 5s, I think you're going to start seeing a few more of these guys jump back in. I'm interested to see if a couple of these guys or what the limitations are. Doesn't matter, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, Pac-12, ACC. I'm interested to see if their limitations are going to be, hey, the season started, you can no longer opt back in, or if they get a week or 2 in, and a guy says, "Hey, can I come back? Let me jump back in now." I'm interested to see what some of the limitations are there. Seeing any news on it?
They only played 3 games.
3, and are they 0-3?
They're 0-3. They got blown out by Cincinnati 55-20. Pitt blew them out the water 55-0
last week,
and then Central Arkansas beat them 24-17.
Poor Austin Peay.
I think, or no, that was. Central Arkansas was the first week and then went down.
Oh, okay.
I think after the 2 big blowout losses, they I think they pretty much like, you know what? We had enough. We're done.
Yeah, let's see. I'll get our top 25 pulled up for us here. I think we went through a little bit of it, but at least you'll be able to kind of see where we stand on the top 25 so far through the season. That's what you're looking at. A little bit of changes we talked about earlier in the week, but at least you've got that pulled up there. That's pretty much all the news I think we've got.
I think we pretty much covered all the major stuff.
Yeah, there's probably a couple of
things that come out. Any injury updates or anything like that. They have announced starters for
that's right.
College football. Alabama did officially name Matt Jones as the starter. You said Georgia announced their kicker.
Yeah, we announced the kicker, which was a redshirt sophomore, and I'm completely blanking on his name. I know it seemed like
it ain't Blankenship.
No, he's young. That's pretty good. He played with the Colts. No, I was kind of under the impression that the punter in I keep wanting to say Camargo. My brain's on the Braves all of a sudden.
Who won their division this past week?
Yeah.
Side note.
Go Braves as well. But anyways, I was thinking that he would be getting the start maybe in kicking position, but it turns out the sophomore is. So that'll be cool for him. I saw where I think Auburn has put out their depth chart.
Yeah.
Tennessee, LSU.
I think all the teams have officially put out their depth chart.
Georgia ain't going to put it out till it's time to roll. I don't think Arkansas. I think
Ain't
there's a
really
few
many
that have, but
surprises you got at Georgia.
there's been a lot that put it out.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think us giving away who's going to be our
I'm
kicker
about
on
to
Friday
say.
is going to hurt anybody's feelings too bad. And I think same thing, running backs. The only difference there is you're going to see is who they're going to put at the top, James Cook, or are you going to put
Which now, I
Zamir
think
White?
they've even showed in the past, just because they're named in that starting position doesn't mean
It's
they're
true.
actually going to start.
Yeah, same thing.
I mean,
the whole controversy at Georgia is it going to be DeJuan Mathis? Is it going to be JT Daniels? And I've said personally, I think it's going to be DeJuan Mathis, but it doesn't matter. I think you're going to see both guys in the game.
JT's still under restriction, ain't he?
No, I think they actually said that he has now been cleared to actually be hit. I'm not 100% on that, and it could be like Kirby said, it's going to be a game time decision. But I think just like in the Georgia game, you're going to see two quarterbacks. I think you're very well going to see whether it's Alabama beating up on Missouri or wanting to get the guy some experience. Anyways, I think you're going to see Bryce Young coming in for Bama.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think with these teams starting off like they are, I mean Georgia's starting off with Arkansas, so you'll probably see both quarterbacks get some play time. Florida with Ole Miss, they'll stay with their number one for the most part. Kentucky, Auburn's going to stay with Bo Nix.
Yeah.
That's a guarantee. I don't think you'll see anything different from Auburn. South Carolina, they named their starting quarterback.
Hey, I'll pull our games up here too. I got to do a little bit of working on it so it doesn't look. Keep on rolling through.
South Carolina named their starting quarterback, which shocked all of us. Because they didn't go with who we were initially thinking, which was Ryan. I'm gonna screw up. What's the last name? Holinsky. Yeah. I was about to say something totally different.
I'm gonna hide in this little gap right here. There's your SEC games kicking off this weekend.
The slate for this week. So some of these teams named their starting quarterback already. Some of them haven't. So it's gonna be interesting to see exactly how they play out and the difference and the adjustments they make, mid-game. I always go back to the Alabama-Georgia championship game. You had a starter in brain fart.
Jalen Hurts.
Great season, but then just struggles because Georgia had his number. And Saban does one thing I don't think many people saw him doing, or that many coaches wouldn't really do. Championship game, I'm going to check out my starting quarterback and put in a true freshman that's only played, a game here and there.
Yeah. He's done a little bit of mop-up, but for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, he don't really.
He saw something in practice, though.
Well, I think that, too, and I think that he was thinking, he saw what a lot of coaches never see. Jalen, his number was on their board.
Yeah.
Like, they had him in the target. Like, every step he took, they were one step ahead of him.
Yeah. Bad thing is, we turned around, a year later, and we did the same thing. We were pinpointing Tua, and we had him locked up just like we had Jalen locked up the year before. He does it again! I can't handle it.
And it's weird to see that happen where, you would think that, these coaches, you're going to train your players to, prepare for this, prepare for that. But I think with that, having Tua come into that game was such a game changer and such a wrench in that monkey work that Georgia was like, what? And then, next year doing it reverse, you don't expect that to happen.
No. I'll tell you what, I really wasn't expecting it. And the bad thing is when he brought him in, I was like, okay, we've seen Jalen before. We can handle this. We didn't handle it. But I'm going to tell you something. We're moving forward into the 2020 season because I don't want to live it back anymore. I threw you top 10 up there. Cody, I'm going to pull up on the screen for us. Let's go ahead and jump into they've got some wide receiver ratings, that came out earlier for the SEC at least. These are you guys, and I'm a little bit surprised, and it is my dogs, but I'm a little bit surprised to see George Pickens at the top of this rating. I've got our top 4 in the SEC pulled up on
and
there.
These are the ones that are playing this year.
Yeah.
The reason that, most people, if you watch our video, if you listen on podcast, the top 4 right now is Georgia's wide receiver, George Pickens, at number 1 with an 85.5 rating. Number 2 is Jalen Waddle from Alabama with an 83.7. Devontae Smith from Alabama right behind him with an 82.7. And then Elijah Moore from Ole Miss with a 76.3. The reason they do not have Jamar Chase from LSU is because he opted out for the 2020 season.
Yeah.
So that is why he's not in this top ranking or in this set of rankings, because he decided I ain't playing this year.
Yeah.
Which
and that's fine. You know, I mean, you want the guy to play, and we can go back and forth all day why we think somebody should play. And everybody's got their reason. You know, more power to them. Whether it's they want to save themselves to go to the SEC, just like at the end of the season when bowl season comes around, you have guys all the time that decide they're going to sit out of the bowl game because they want to be healthy for, you know, going to the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that. And I definitely get it this year. It's such a different year. You can't knock the kid for deciding not to play. Sometimes I find it interesting. We are week of game time, and LSU, I think, was one. If it wasn't LSU, it may have been Texas A&M.
Yeah.
They've had just a lot of guys opting out, even this week, which I'm like, what is the deal? You know, it makes you wonder, are guys getting beat out? It makes you wonder a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
You know.
And with Jamar Chase at LSU, he didn't get beat out. I don't think that's a.
No.
I think that
it was either.
It was just a decision he made. You know, he's probably looking. I think he was looking at it, the fact that, you know, we got a lot of new players coming in, a lot of new faces, a lot of new coordinators. We cannot repeat what we did last year. And I think that he saw that and he kind of had that feeling. And he
my money's already made.
Yeah, I'm
in
done.
The stock that I had last year, as opposed to if I play this year, I may get a whole lot less, and my stock in the it may just drop.
Yeah. So he's just riding off of what he finished on last year, which nothing against him, was great, amazing season last year.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, if you're going to do that to your team, to me that's dirty.
Poor LSU though.
I mean,
They've
LSU,
lost so much.
they, you know, everybody's, you know, after a team wins the championship, their talk is, can they do it again?
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, we're going to pull it up in a little bit, but you're going to see that's also why I think they've got this Mississippi State game. The number has gotten a lot closer than what it was last week when we did a episode.
I think that game is going to be actually closer than what a lot of people are thinking, just for that main fact that LSU has so many players either gone to the draft, transferred out, graduated, or just opted out of the season. Like, I don't see that big of a change in numbers for LSU. And nothing against LSU this year. You know, I wish they would play a full strength schedule or full strength team. But I think Jamar Chase saw that, and he kind of knew, like, you know, we can't do it again. My stats from last year can take me where I want to go in the NFL. I'm going to ride on them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm back to the ratings we were talking about earlier. I am surprised that George Pickens is at the top of that list, but at the same time, it also makes me pretty excited because you got good names up there. Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, who you know have put up numbers at Alabama, even Elijah Moore there at Ole Miss. You got some really good company there, and for George to be at the top of that, I mean, it's exciting for me, you know, just because, hey, that's one of my dogs, and he's a good one. So it's exciting to see that. I want to run through some of the sound that I'm looking forward to seeing. Even though, you know, we've got a couple games that are going to be played on CBS, this is one of my favorite sounds when it comes to starting off the season with it. And I think I played a little bit of it earlier, or in one of our previous episodes, that I want to pull up for us. Because it's a good one. It's always a good one when you hear it. So I really hope this thing doesn't just fast forward all the way through. There we go. Oh, yeah. Those 3:30 kicks on the CBS network. See, I pull up your games again for this week. So a couple of these guys that are going to be on that, you're going to get I thought the Florida game was on it, but I guess not. But you're going to get the Mississippi State LSU game, what we were just talking about. It's going to be on the CBS network, so you're going to get to hear that.
One on the CBS. The rest of them are on ESPN or the SEC network or their alternate network.
Which is strange, and I don't think I've known there's alternate, but I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to actually watch that because it's on that alternate.
I think it
channel.
depends on where you're staying at.
Which it doesn't matter to me. What are you looking for on your side over here?
Okay, so here's the stats from for the receivers.
Oh, okay.
You had George Pickens finish off last year with 49 receptions, 727 yards, 14.5 yards average a catch, and 8 touchdowns. Is what he finished off the 2019 season with. Whereas in Alabama, you had Devontae Smith finish with 68 receiving yards, 1,256 yards, 18.5 average, and 14 touchdowns. And then Jalen Waddle with 53 receptions, 560 yards, 17 average, and 6 touchdowns.
So did Jalen actually receive?
Jalen actually received more than Pickens did, but
More?
Pickens also was suspended.
Yeah, he was suspended that first half
for-
of the I think the Baylor game. No, SEC championship.
SEC championship, and there was another game too.
Yeah, well, you know he's I think it was just the first half of the SEC championship.
Because right at a little after halftime, he got suspended for
the rest of the game,
the rest of the Georgia
Next
Tech
half,
game
that was
and the
it.
next half of the.
which hurt against LSU because he saw when he came in he was fired up, which is good. But I mean, it was going to be difficult to beat LSU either way. But you know, when it came to the Baylor game, you saw he really showed out. So I think they're just looking ahead and they're really seeing kind of what they have to come up the line. Kind of speaking of some of the stuff that they're predicting here, I'm going to pull up what they have pulled up as the preseason ranks in the West and the East, and this is where they've got it lined up. I don't think there's too much surprise outside of maybe LSU in second in the West. I don't expect
There's a
LSU
lot of
to be.
hype for LSU this
Yeah,
year.
I really don't expect them to be sitting in second. I see them maybe in that 4, probably in that 4 position, and
Let's see.
I would maybe swap A&M and LSU. If it's me, I'm giving it Alabama,
So-
A&M, Auburn, LSU, and then lines up just the same. But the biggest surprise to me is they are predicting Florida to be ahead of Georgia in the East and win the East this year against Alabama. Against Georgia to play Alabama in the SEC championship.
So, according to our rankings, which we did earlier in the season, you actually had LSU finishing 4th and Texas A&M finishing 2nd.
So yeah, that was
you
about
had
what I
them
was thinking.
swapped.
Yeah.
I had them finishing 3rd, and then our outside source had them finishing 2nd.
Yeah, so it's just a bit different.
I think we may not be seeing something that everybody else is, but I just don't see LSU finishing that high up.
Yeah.
I don't see them finishing over an Auburn. I really don't.
No.
But the talent Auburn's bringing back this year, it's going to be really hard for them to be over Auburn.
Yeah.
I mean, the Florida Georgia, I think that's a toss up.
Yeah.
That one you can go either one top.
Yeah, I
two.
mean it's all going to come down to that November 7th game in Week 7 when they face off. I think that's really going to be the determining
That's going
factor.
to be that game will tell you who your East winner is and who's playing for the East in the championship. Where for the West, you won't know until the end of the season.
Yeah, and more than likely, it's true. Even though it's so strange that Alabama and Auburn aren't the last game of the season.
It's weird. That's so
it's
weird.
Such a strange thing to think about. For all these years, that's always been really which timing of year doesn't matter anymore necessarily since everything's changed. But not to be the last game of the season. Y'all playing Arkansas to end the season.
Why didn't play the game?
Well, that ain't fair. That's not very nice. But I get it. Y'all,
we're going to show you why. I mean, nothing against Arkansas, but their schedule that they got this year was horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, they start off the year right there. Your first 2 games against top 10 teams.
Yeah.
You got Georgia at home, which ain't going to be easy. Then you got to go to Auburn in 2 weeks. Arkansas got the short end of the stick, and they got beat both ways with it.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you look at their second half, you got Florida, LSU.
You got one non-ranked game. As of, obviously, this is
as of
week
right
1.
now, of week 1 of the SEC's playoff, or football schedule.
Yeah.
You got one.
They got three non-top 25 games this season.
As of right now, and that could change. Because Ole Miss can get bumped up in that top 25 position when they start playing.
Yeah, so that jumps right into our next segment, which is the toughest and easiest schedules this season. And I think we're both in agreement that Arkansas definitely has the toughest this season. You might could say Missouri's got a pretty tough one over there on the East as well, but Arkansas definitely got the short end of the stick. And you're looking at same thing LSU had last year. They played 3 or 4 top teams. Well, you got Georgia from 4 right there. You got Bama number 2 right there. You got LSU number 6 right there. The only one they don't pull is Florida. No, they do have them.
They got Florida.
They got them on the 14th.
They got Florida right before they play LSU.
Yeah, so
I mean,
that's how it lines up. Well, then let's turn around and let's say who do you think has the easiest schedule this season?
I think their easiest schedule is the team they play there on the 14th in November in Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, Florida's toughest games is LSU, A&M, Georgia, and that's it. That is cupcake SEC schedule.
Yeah. And I'm not going to say, I you know me. I'm a dog, and all dogs, all we want to do is chomp down on a gator just like a gator. All they want to do is chomp on anything. Georgia's not far behind them as far as having a fairly easy season.
Oh, no.
This year, we're maybe a notch above them.
I think with Georgia picking up that game against Auburn and Alabama this year,
having Alabama on
schedule.
the schedule, that's the helper this year for sure. I was kind of surprised because I expected Florida and Alabama to end up having to play this year.
I was hoping there was. I was so hoping we'd play Florida.
A lot of people are predicting them to end up playing
in the championship.
In the championship this year, so we're going to see how it goes.
You could actually either have a repeat in a game with Alabama and Georgia that play fourth game. Is it fourth game? Or
yeah, we're the fourth
game of the season. You could have a repeat in that game in Alabama, Georgia, or you could see Alabama, LSU, or Alabama, Florida, or you could see Auburn up there playing a repeat with Georgia, or first time playing Florida this season.
Yep.
I think the West is going to come down to an Alabama-Auburn game like it does so many years. I just don't think LSU has the caliber of players this year to compete.
Yeah, I don't either for sure as far as LSU goes. I do think Auburn's going to be good, but I've still been riding high, and I think I've been riding high since the end of last season. That Texas A&M, they had an awful schedule last year where they had one of the toughest schedules in the country, and this year they get, even though it's all SEC, they get a good bit of a breather not having to play Clemson, Alabama, having to play Georgia, having to play at the time. I think
even they got a tough schedule this year. I mean, they're playing Alabama, Florida.
Yeah, it's not easy for sure.
And then finish off the season against LSU and Auburn.
Yeah,
I mean, they get a little bit of a break there in the middle of Mississippi State, Arkansas, South Carolina. A little bit of a small breather, but for the most part, I think as far as starting and ending the season, A&M is going to get beat up.
Yeah, it's going.
They're going to be hurting at the end of the year playing those two teams.
It's definitely going to be tough. Like I say, I've ridden high on them. I do have them finish second in the West, just above Auburn, and obviously just behind Alabama, just because I think Alabama's going to be good. We'll kind of get into some of that as time rolls, but let's go ahead and show you. This is going to be from the SEC Network that I pulled off, so hopefully they don't have too much of a fuss about it, but this is your percentages coming into this weekend as we start to get ready to preview this weekend's games. Read them off for us. So you got them.
No real big surprise there. Your chance of win this year or the weekend. You got Alabama at number 2 going to Missouri. Alabama with a 95% chance to win. There's no shot there. Number 4 Georgia at Arkansas. Georgia with a 91% chance to win. Number 5 Florida playing Ole Miss at Ole Miss. Florida with a 79% chance. I think the only reason it's at 79, it would be higher if they're playing at Florida.
Yeah.
Mississippi State going to LSU. LSU 94% chance.
That's the shocking number to me.
Yeah.
Once we get into the lines here in just a minute,
you'll see.
This game has last week it was a fairly high line, but it has dropped dramatically throughout the week. So I'm surprised that number is as high as it is.
Continue on down, you have number 23 Kentucky going to number 8 Auburn. Auburn with that 85% chance to win that game. Vandy versus number 10 A&M. A&M with a 95% chance. And the game I think we're going to watch just to see how it plays out.
Oh, for sure.
Is number 16. Now, you're hearing this correctly. 16 Tennessee at South Carolina. And South Carolina with a 53% chance to win. That game can go either way.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, me personally, I ain't putting any money on a game like that.
No.
It's
If it's that close on percent, chance to win, that is using the ESPN's FPI.
Yeah.
That so far, I think it's been pretty accurate on the game's prediction.
I would honestly, me personally, I would, if I was picking it, I would flip it and say, give me Tennessee 53% over South Carolina. But it's kind of neat that South Carolina's not ranked, but they have a better chance according to the FPI.
I think it's because South Carolina is at home.
They do
get Tennessee at home, but still.
Yeah, like we talked about.
I mean,
like we talked about earlier, is home field advantage going to matter this year?
We're going to find out, apparently.
Evidently, they're still thinking it's happening. Maybe that's the reason that the LSU number is so high. Because what time is that game played? Well, it might help if I pull the schedule back up here for us, hadn't it?
Excuse us one second, guys.
Yeah, we'll get our schedule pulled back up here. And
you have it at, I think it's an afternoon game.
So the Tennessee game is late, yeah. So, I mean, being at 3:30 in Death Valley, I ain't going to say that it's easy, but, I mean, it's at least, doable. Hey, how awesome, or not awesome, I guess, for LSU, but I think it would be pretty cool to see Mississippi State get the upset to start the season.
If Mississippi State gets the upset in Death Valley,
even if it is at 3:30,
that changes LSU's schedule altogether.
Yeah,
we'll definitely have to come back and redo our picks. Because I think, hold on, we both got. I got Mississippi State finishing 3-7, and you had them finishing 4-6.
Yeah, so we're pretty much right there neck and neck with each other. Give a game or two.
Yeah, I mean, if they come back and win, that will be fun to watch.
If there's anything that we've learned, though, anything can happen.
In Death Valley, because, 3 years ago? Sunbelt team went
2017,
down.
Yeah.
Went down to
You like
Death
bringing
Valley?
Troy back up.
Look, man, it's a local team. I got to get shout out to the Sunbelt.
I get it.
They need to be the Power 6 conference. Throw them in there.
Speaking of some of it, let's go ahead and jump into, we're going to start this thing off as far as previewing our games that are coming up this weekend. Let's start it off. I'll get us a little bit of music pulled up here, just like what we opened up with, because why not have a little bit of music with it while we're going through some of it. I'm going to try to keep it a little bit quieter for you so it's not too loud. So you might have to talk over it a little bit. But let's go ahead and start talking about some of our upcoming games this weekend outside of the league. So keep our SEC out of it. That way we'll jump into some of your SEC games. And once we jump into some of the SEC games, that's when we can jump right into some of our picks and all. Go ahead and hit me with a few.
We're going to jump into it. Actually, a game Friday, 25th tonight at 8 o'clock. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, is Middle Tennessee 0-2 taking on UTSA, which is 2-0 on CBS. So there'll be a little pregame kind of watch. As far as Saturday's slate goes, you have Kansas State and number 3 Oklahoma kicking off the day at 12 o'clock on Fox. Number 13 UCF taking on East Carolina on ABC at 12. Georgia Southern and Louisiana Raging Cajun. I gotta do that. I just started. I gotta do it now.
Dude, it cracks me up here now. The Raging Cajuns, like he's trying to be a little Cajun.
We gotta throw it. Gotta get a shout out to them. Taking on Georgia Southern. Both teams are undefeated so far. That game's on ESPN2 at 12 o'clock. I think one to kind of watch here is number 24 Louisville, 1-1 with their loss last week to Miami, taking on 21 Pitt on the ACC network at 12 o'clock also, so that'll be kind of fun to watch. Georgia Tech taking on Syracuse at 12. Continuing on down here, some more games at 12. Campbell, Appalachian State. 1 o'clock you have Florida International taking on Liberty. 1:30 Iowa State versus TCU. 2:30 you have Tulane versus Southern Mississippi. 3:30 you have number 8 Texas taking on Texas Tech, which is always a pretty good game.
Yeah, check out the over-under line on this. They've got Texas picked at that one 17.5, but the over-under on this is 70.5 points.
What was
so they expecting some points to be thrown on the board right there.
What was Texas' statement last year? What, DBU University? There ain't no defense in that game so far.
No, not if you're about to make it 70 and
you have an
over-under
17.5.
That ain't happening. Another good one.
Another good one to watch. Number 22 Army taking on number 14 Cincinnati at 3:30 on ESPN. Number 15 Oklahoma State taking on West Virginia on ABC at 3:30. Continue on down. Duke and Virginia, both teams without a win this year, at 4 o'clock on ACC Network. Texas State 1-2 taking on 1-0 Boston College on ESPN 3 at 6 o'clock. Continuing on down. Florida State 0-1 taking on number 12 Miami on ABC at 7:30.
Kind of looking forward to that.
That one's gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah. It's always a heated rivalry down there between the two Florida schools.
Well, that and then with the news coming out with FSU's head coach being tested, so he won't be at the game. They have a interned.
Yeah, I think it's the offensive coordinator that's the head coach. But it's always a heated one, you know. Looking at it here, the line's only 11, and they do have Miami. I do think Miami's going to get the win, but I could see this game going two ways, which is really how you could see any game. Is either Miami is going to blow them out of the water, and they're going to, all the talk is just, that's it, no more talk, boom, we're going to handle our business.
Or if FSU slips up and beats them.
It's possible, but I think, or they at least keep it close and keep it a fun game regardless. I'm gonna throw it up there on the TV and we'll take a look at it at least.
I think what FSU's thing is they'll start a game fairly strong, but they just don't finish.
Yeah.
We saw it. You know,
they got to get the quarterbacks figured out.
They got to get the quarterback. Nothing
for the past
against
3
him.
years.
Take him out. Take him out. The game 2 weeks ago, I think they were playing, and they put in the
Georgia Tech.
Yeah, they put in the backup quarterback. And he looked better than the starter. Why would you? Like, he comes in for 3 plays and gets 33 yards on 3 plays.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Why take him out?
Tell me how crazy this would be. What if, because Mike Norvell's out at head coach, what if the offensive coordinator's like, he might not have made the call. I'm going to make the call. Let's swap this guy up. And all of a sudden, they turn it around.
I work with some FSU fans, man. And they're like, y'all got, room on y'all's bandwagon because we're tired of losing. It's like, come on over. You feel like, you know how it feels to win.
Yeah.
But I would not be surprised to see that change in quarterbacks coming from, the offensive coordinator, because that needs to happen down in Florida.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to run through a couple others for us here. You got Kansas and Baylor taking off. Baylor finally getting on the field. Fingers crossed anyway. Anything can happen between now and then. NC State's going to take on Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech coming in at 20. Our local guys, Troy, 1-0, playing BYU, ranked at 18 at 10:15. That game is going to be on ESPN, so you can watch that. That's pretty much what we've got wrapped up for our games around the league. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our games inside of the league that I've popped up 15 times for you here on the screen.
That's probably already said. If you're watching them on YouTube, you've seen it 17 times. But we're just going
you can read them up there if you want. Might make it a little easier for you.
Starting off today, somewhat. You get number 5, Florida taking on Ole Miss at Ole Miss at 12 o'clock on ESPN. We had our numbers on that one, didn't we?
Yeah, I got at least the line. We'll get to the over-under once we get into some of the picks and stuff.
Continuing on down at also 12 o'clock, you have number 23 Kentucky taking on number 8 Auburn on the SEC network. You threw me off there.
Sorry.
I was reading that one. Sorry. So you get 2 early games there on the SEC with Florida taking on Ole Miss and number 23 Kentucky taking on number 8 Auburn. Both Florida and Auburn are favored in that game. 3:30 on CBS, you have Mississippi State taking on LSU. LSU, the favorite in that one, 16.5. 30 minutes after that game kicks off, you have number 4 Georgia taking on unranked Arkansas or Arkansas. You got to throw some humor at them. That's about all they're going to get this year. 4 o'clock on the SEC network, Georgia a big favorite in that one at 27.5. Continue on down, Alabama with a late game against Missouri at 7 o'clock on the ESPN network. Alabama a heavy favorite in that one at, I think it was 28 now.
Yeah, I was looking at it just a minute ago. These are actually the numbers from last night that I updated, and we'll get into our next screen once you announce the last one.
And last two to kick off, you have both at 7:30, both on the SEC network. I'll get it out sooner or later, guys. Vandy taking on number 10 A&M. A&M a high favorite in that game, and then the game hopefully we can get to watch. Number 16 Tennessee taking on South Carolina. Both of them are on the SEC network. A&M is on the SEC alternate channel. I haven't realized they had an alternate channel.
Yeah. So here's, like he was saying, these are the updated bet lines with the over/under as well as the lines on who they have at the top coming into this week. And we'll kind of run through who our picks are, at least, coming into this thing. I'll start it off and just read through your lines. Like Cody said, Georgia is a favorite by 28 over Arkansas. Over/under on that was 53. That one's pretty tight as far as what I've got as far as my line for that one. Bama's also a 28-point favorite at Mizzou with a 56 over and under. Florida's now
difference.
That's right. Florida's now up to 14, a half point better.
It's a team without a kicker.
57.5 there. The Tennessee game has stayed pretty much the same since last week when we did the Sunday edition earlier this week. Technically, still at 3.5. The over/under is 44, so a pretty low scoring game there. It's going to be tight. I'm looking forward to possibly seeing just kind of a shootout in that one. One of the games of the weekend to me is going to be that Kentucky-Auburn game. With the lines only 7.5, it's pretty close. 49.5 over under Mississippi State LSU. You can see there that number has dropped all the way to 16.5. 57 over under there. Vandy and A&M. A&M does get the biggest line on the weekend at 31. Over under 46.5. Cody, hit me with. You can go through and just tell me. You don't necessarily have to give me any numbers unless you want to. Run through your games here and at least tell me who you are picking for. Basically, I'll put it on the left side of the screen for you. For us, you'll just get to see us back on the screen because we want you to see something pretty. Just run through your games there and kind of tell me who you got, and then we'll get to your pick of the day.
So
our pick of the week, I guess.
We'll go down the list. Georgia taking on Arkansas. There's a lot of questions there at Georgia for the quarterback and offense. But with them starting off the season with Arkansas, I don't see hardly any struggle there. I see Georgia pretty much walking the dog on that one, pun intended.
I've got something for us here. I tell you what. Maybe I can pull this up at the same time. It's kind of last second here.
Oh, Lord.
But I might can do it. Let's do every time you pick a team, except for Florida. I will play.
It's just because he's a Georgia fan.
I will play. Well, it's that, and I also don't think that I have their fight song. Not too shocking there.
I think we couldn't find it.
All right, so it may have been. All right, so you
Georgia.
All right, that's who you got. So I'll give you a little bit of it here. You might not see or hear this throughout the season.
We'll work on getting mascot heads, so we'll do picks on the mascot heads.
That's a good idea. All right, so you got Georgia in the first one. Roll on to your next one there, buddy.
We're going to continue on down the list. You got Alabama taking on Missouri. Bet lines are right there. You see it. Alabama's going to take the win there. Get a lot of the drum roll. Easy win, I think, for Alabama.
You think so? Do you think? All right, tell me this. So you got a little bit of a number line on it here. I'll let it get to your favorite part right here.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's enough of that.
He heard a lot in the championship game a couple years ago. Looking at the game, I think Alabama's going to be a heavy favorite. I think, nothing against Mizzou, but I think our defense are going to give up some big plays here and there. We always do. I see that game going down 38-10 with Bama getting the big win. I think we could score 42 on Missouri easily, but I don't think they will. I think
so. You would take that under 56. Then,
yeah, I take the under 56.
There it is. That's Cody's pick of the day, right there.
I'll take that pick, but they could, but I don't think they will.
Yeah.
Just because you start the season, a lot of questions figured out. So I think they'll keep it kind of smooth sailing. Get the win. Don't do anything stupid. Don't try to push your luck.
Yeah.
Continue on down to the team he don't have the fight song for. You got Florida taking on Ole Miss. I would love to see the upset, but I don't see it happening at Ole Miss.
I wonder if I have something here that I could play for Florida at least.
Oh, Lord. Wah, wah, wah.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. I got something for them.
Don't do it to them.
Here we go. All right. That's enough of that. Enough of that. Sorry. All right, go back to what you had. Back to what you had, and I may pay for it later in the season. We'll see.
I just don't think Florida. I don't think Ole Miss has it. What Lane Kiffin has going on down there, he's at Ole Miss, right?
Yeah, because you got
That's right.
you got Mike Leach at Mississippi State.
Which, I mean, let's be honest, Lane Kiffin has been known to pull tricks out of his butt.
Yeah.
I mean, he pulls them out of anywhere he can. And he likes to talk smack.
Yeah.
It's Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
But I don't think Florida. I think Florida's gonna be too much for Ole Miss to handle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to the Tennessee South Carolina game and say that one for last because that one we're gonna say to the end.
All right. I'm game on that.
Kentucky at Auburn at home. I gotta give it to Auburn. Bo Nix, what he did last year. You know, the challenge that he had to come over. I don't see Auburn struggling a whole lot. They got, good returning class coming in this year, good recruiting class coming up.
Yeah.
Gus Malzahn does know how to recruit. So I think Auburn gets a win there over Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I'll take the bet line on that too. Auburn by 7.5. Mississippi State at LSU. As much as I want to see the upset in Death Valley, that ain't happening. LSU's going to take the win there. I think that's going to be, well, I won't say easy because of the struggles LSU has to face this year. But I really think the only game you could have given them better to start the season off is that Arkansas game.
Yeah.
Or Vandy.
I can see that.
And continue on down to the Vandy and Texas A&M game. A&M.
I didn't even go wait on you.
Yeah. I mean, they won't have their 12th man this year. So it's going to be funny to see how that changes A&M's gameplay.
Yeah.
Because they were a lot heavy on that stadium.
Yeah.
And that presence that they offer. So I don't think, Vandy's going to be much of a challenge. A&M, easy rollover win there. And then jumping back up to Tennessee, South Carolina.
I've got to keep the cursor ready for one or the other.
I don't know.
I only have one, so.
That one you can go either way with. South Carolina is at home. And we did talk earlier, I think last week, would that make a difference? This game is going to tell you if home field advantage matters in close games.
I also think that Mississippi State LSU game might.
It may change too.
Might as well.
But with Tennessee having Jarrett back there in the backfield, a quarterback handling that offense, I'm going to have to take Tennessee. I think if South Carolina had Ryan in the backfield, Linsky, I think I got it right that time. Finally.
Yeah, hey.
Only took probably 14 episodes. You don't have.
Nope, don't have Tennessee, but that's okay.
But I just don't think South Carolina can handle. He's a great quarterback for Tennessee. I just don't think South Carolina can handle it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to give Florida or Tennessee that win over South Carolina.
Hey, well that's understandable. I think you got some good numbers there. I'm gonna do the same thing. Run through just the same line that you just saw on the screen. If you're watching visually podcast, we just ran through it a minute ago for you. Georgia, Arkansas. I'm gonna save that one for last because that's gonna be my pick of the week. I'm kind of the same line on you as far as the Bama-Mizzou game goes. I could see that one probably pulling off. I think I said like 42-13.
Yeah.
I think Bama can get that one. So give me Bama with that. Florida, Ole Miss. I think Florida's probably going to handle the business. I know it's in Ole Miss, but I still got enough faith that I think Kyle Trask is going to lead that offense to a good number of points. I'm not going to give you a line on that as far as it goes. I'll save the Tennessee-South Carolina game as well for later. Kentucky-Auburn. This is probably the game of the weekend for me that I'm looking forward to watching.
Hopefully.
The game is close.
Hopefully we can get it on SEC.
I could see it being, I could see Kentucky coming in and causing some issues. At the end of the day, I don't think they're going to. I think Auburn's going to end up pulling this one off. And we'll see. I mean, it's not a bad line. I'm not putting money on that one.
No.
That's another one that I wouldn't. Keep rolling on down. One thing I told you earlier, I would love to see Mississippi State upset LSU. I think that would be a wild start to the season, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think LSU still has enough. But I'll tell you this. If I was picking in this game as far as a number line goes, give me that under 16.5. Give it to me, Mississippi State, because I think that this game could come down to possibly 13.
Yeah,
I think it could be. I think it's going to be under that 16.5.
16 points on Mississippi State.
I also might take the under on that 57. I don't know that it's going to be that high scoring of a game. Now you got a lot of both teams have a lot. LSU's lost a lot. Mississippi State's lost a little bit, but Mississippi State returns a whole lot more than LSU does. But regardless, I still think LSU's going to get that one. But I could see them winning by 10, 13.
I think if you take that game and put it at Mississippi State, Mississippi State gets the win.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Vandy, Texas A&M, same thing. The line is set the reason that it is. 31 is a pretty big number.
It's Vandy.
But I will say I don't think Vandy's going to be able to hold A&M off, even though it is at home. Jumping back to the top of a couple. Tennessee, South Carolina, I really could see it going either way. The 44 over-under is a good line there because I think it is going to be a bit of a shootout. I do think Tennessee ends up pulling it off by more than 3.5. I could see it going by – I could really see it by 10. Give me a touchdown and a field goal.
I'd say at most a touchdown.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason they put it at 3.5 is because if you say, all right, I think they get them by a field goal, well, there you go. But if you say a touchdown, that flips your bet. But give me Tennessee and give me over 3.5 because give me Tennessee with the 3.5 because I think that Tennessee is going to pull that one off maybe by 10. And my pick of the day is going to be Georgia, Arkansas. Funny enough, we do actually have the same score as the Bama-Mizzou game. I think that one ends 38-10. So I will take on that the under 53 that is set there in that one. But I don't want anything to do, obviously, with that 28 line for Georgia because that's what I've got it at is exactly 28. And I actually picked this game. I can't remember if I picked it in my other show that I do on Tuesdays or not. But this is the score that I thought that Georgia would have really at the beginning of the week. And it's kind of neat because when I looked at the line at the beginning of the week, it was only 22. And this number has fluctuated. It's just kept going up. One point, I think we even had it on there earlier, it was 27.5.
It was 27.
When I looked at it yesterday, it was 26.5. So it's moving. And it's getting higher and higher for Georgia. So, and at the end of the week,
you'll see these numbers move till the time of the game starts.
Oh yeah, basically till tomorrow. You could see that game drop back down to 27.5. You could see it jump up like A&M's and be at 31. But it's kind of fun to see that through all this time when I picked it so early that it's now basically evened up with what I thought. But still, give me Georgia under 53.5. On this one, and that's going to be my pick of the day. The new segment that we've got that has come in is going to be the MadDawg's pick of the day or pick of the week, excuse me. And this one is coming in from an anonymous source. His nickname is MadDawg. Kind of like I think he got Bear Felica, I think on ESPN. He's not anonymous, but he's there.
You get the Bear for ESPN, you got MadDawg for SECTalk.
Yeah, that's what you got. MadDawg coming in with his pick of the week. He's got Auburn 38-17. He's going to take Auburn at this under 7.5 with that. Obviously, that one being won by more than 7.5 there. And that's going to be the MadDawg pick of the week. That's going to come to you every week. Again, anonymous source. We may one day decide to let you know who it is that's calling in and giving us that number, but that's at least.
Or may have him on the show.
Yeah, that would be cool too. Maybe I can get some audio from him, and he can kind of push in some of our stuff. Let me kind of pull up our notepad here so we see kind of what we've got left. That's it. That's what we got. Our next segment is we're going to do the college football playoff picks.
Early, but why not?
Yeah, I mean you got to at least do your preseason top 4.
Yeah.
I don't think you necessarily have to come up with who's going to be a champion because we didn't know until last week that the Big Ten was even going to be in this. Had we done this last week, we'd be redoing it this week. Because the Big Ten's in it, and I do think at least one team is going to make a difference in that. I wanted to get us a little bit of some music up to kind of get us hyped up for this going. I really don't know if I want to do any of these. How about this? What you think?
That works.
Yeah, why not? Give us a little bit of music. Maybe. There it goes.
I mean, like you mentioned, with the changes in the conferences, this year, all the changes you have coming in the conferences say, you know what, we're gonna play finally. A little late to decide that. I think one team that I'm including in there just because of their history that they have, just because of who they are, is my number 3 seat. I'll start at number 4.
Yeah, let's start at number 4. Work the other way.
Number 4. My number 4 could change, but just going off of what I picked, I think I picked them, didn't I?
Yep.
No, I actually picked the other way.
That's okay.
No,
Things change. Things change. Go ahead with it.
This one can go the way. I think Florida, just because of the way that they have their team set up, the returning quarterback they got is really interesting to see. And I think that they can make that little push into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Take the number 4 or number 3 seat, but I don't see them sitting at 1 or 2. Even though they do have that cupcake schedule.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but I don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, that one, I can go either way. That one, you could actually put Georgia in there, but depending on how that week 4 or week 7.
Yeah, I got it more. There.
Week 7 game is.
Go ahead.
You can go either way with Florida or Georgia. Whoever wins that game will be either the number 4 or number 3 spot, regardless of how the SEC playoff goes. Continuing on to my number 3 seat is, I hate to do it, but a Big 12 or
Big 10.
Big 10 is one of those conferences, is Ohio State. I think just because of they've been there, they show that they can hang with the big boys and play. They do got a great quarterback up there who came from Georgia, and Justin Fields. So I think with that one you could go either way with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think those two you could, depending on how the season goes and how what the criteria is that the playoff committee sets forth. I think by week 6 we'll update these.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Mid-season.
Give it mid-season review basically.
Yeah.
And see how what changes, what we think would change.
I think in a couple weeks we can maybe at least for not really preseason we'll pick our national champs, but maybe in a couple weeks we can kind of go.
I think we'll do the
we
review.
Yeah.
Week 6 we'll give you our full out prediction on what everything is.
All right. Well, tell me who you think you got at your
number 2. Just because of the dominance that they have showed, I wanted to go with the ACC and the Clemson Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
What Dabo Swinney has done there at Clemson and what he's produced there, I think it shows that he can compete with these big dogs, with the big boys.
Yeah.
They've won it.
Yeah.
They still got Trevor Lawrence, who's a really dangerous threat there at quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be their difference this year is having him there.
Yeah.
They started the season off real great, real strong this year, but they haven't had any challenges, and they won't see a challenge until they get to the playoffs.
I get that.
And I think with them having the ACC schedule, the only team I can see them giving a little bit of pump so far is Miami.
That's true.
Because
Miami looks good this
Miami
year.
looks really good this year.
What do you think about Notre Dame though being in the ACC technically this year?
I wish they stayed there.
They are going to play.
I wish they would stay.
I kind of like it. I kind of like it.
I know they say 2020 only. No, I said we put out push for Notre Dame to stay in the ACC.
Yeah,
they need a conference.
Yeah,
it's hurt them several years not being in a conference. Put them in the ACC.
Like I say, I can get with that.
But this year alone, I don't see them making a change on the Clemson run. Now, once Trevor Lawrence graduates or gets drafted, then I can see that change.
Yeah. It's not
But
bad
until, something changes there at Clemson, it's going to be the same old.
Yeah.
And, of course, my number 1 seat is coming from the SEC. And I'm picking the SEC championship in Alabama. I know I had it picked out where Georgia would win the SEC championship, but with everything going on and the players we have coming back this year, Dylan Moses and all them, they're coming for blood.
Yeah.
So my 4 right there you see on our video if you're on podcast, you're listening, so I will refresh. My number 4 seed is Florida as of right now. Number 3 seed Ohio State. Number 2 Clemson, and number 1 in Alabama.
I don't hate it. I don't think that it's a bad line at all. I think you got some good teams there. I think ours are going to differ a little bit, which is fine.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But I do like your line that you got there. It's not a bad one.
No, I mean, like I said, those will change. I'm going to tell you, I'm changing them halfway through the season.
You see this behind him?
That ain't changing.
You see the shirt that the guys got on?
That number 1 seed ain't changing. I'm going to tell you all that right now.
He's going to put them up top regardless.
Even if they're in the 4th hole, man.
Yeah.
Which they've been in the 4th hole.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and jump in, and I'm going to do my picks just basically the same way that you just did. I'm going to start with the number 4 spot right there, and you and I are going to be a little bit flip-flop on this.
I said, even in the 4th hole.
That's right. I'm going to put Alabama there at the 4 hole, and I'll tell you why. And that a lot has to do with my next number right here. I'm going to go ahead and give you 4 and 3, and the number 3 spot are the Dogs, and this is why. And I believe, like you say, I think at some point this season, Alabama will find themselves maybe that 1, maybe that 2 spot. And I think in finding themselves in either that 1 or that 2 spot, what's going to happen is, and I've said it when we've gone through our predictions for the season, is I don't know if Georgia has the offense to be able to get past Alabama in week 4 of the season. I think we still are going to be figuring stuff out between the quarterback, getting Todd Monken's system in. I do think that once we get it in, I think Georgia really is going to have a good offense this year and finally start picking up the pace from where they have in the past. And that is why I think Alabama's in that 1 or 2 spot when we go to the SEC Championship, and Georgia's right there on the outside looking in, and they've got to get the win for it to matter, because I think we get the win over Florida in week 7. It's going to be hard fought. We're going to see how things shake out when we get there. But I think that Georgia finally gets over Alabama in the SEC Championship. But again, I think Alabama being in that 1 or that 2 spot there is going to be the difference in putting Georgia that 3 spot and giving me Bama 4, keeping them in, getting 2 SEC teams in again this year.
He wants a 2018 repeat.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's not necessarily terrible as far as that goes. Let me go ahead and kind of scoot on through it here because we're starting to get a little bit pressed for time. But coming in at my second position, same as you got there, give me the Clemson Tigers. I think it's just too good to have them not in it. And I think it's a little bit of a surprise for people to see them there because if you look back at the coaches poll, they did put the Pac-12 in, or excuse me, not the Pac-12, but the Big Ten. They put them in the coaches poll, but not in the ACC or in the AP poll. Looking back at the AP poll not being in it, coaches poll, they've got couple of your Big Ten guys, and I'll go ahead and pop it up for you. I got Ohio State. It didn't roll like I wanted it to, but in that one spot, I do have Ohio State. And in the coaches poll from this past week, you have Ohio State at 10th. So I think if the AP poll has anything to reflect that, Ohio State's got a lot of work to do to get themselves in that first spot, but I think they can do it. They're only playing 9 games. I think it's going to be really hard for Clemson to swap, but just like last year, the two of them kind of went back and forth a little bit. I think Alabama jumped up there, and before you knew it, LSU was right where they're supposed to be because they were such a powerhouse. But I think Clemson notches down into that spot because Notre Dame, the Miami game could put them in that 1 spot. I really think you could swap either or Ohio State and Clemson in that spot. And I think one of the main reasons I swapped it is because I am sick and tired of watching Clemson and Alabama play each other. I'm tired of it. Y'all do it every year, it seems like. So
I mean, for the past
that may have been why. That may have been a good reason why I swapped them because I could see Ohio State in 2, Clemson at 1 because Clemson's going to play Notre Dame this year. That's going to be a game. Miami is going to play them this year. Miami looks pretty good so far. So they do at least have a little bit of a schedule. I don't think they have A&M this year. Auburn, obviously, not being in season. In conference. Yeah. But they're going to have a couple of opponents that they're going to play. If they didn't play Notre Dame, and if Miami wasn't any good this year, I could see them in the 2 spot because they don't have a great schedule. But again, I think the reason mainly that I swapped is I'm tired of seeing these two play, but I do think Georgia gets to win over Alabama in the SEC Championship. But I do think that you still get Alabama in, because I don't think they're going to lose a game until that SEC championship. I had previously said that I think LSU's going to beat them. LSU's lost too much. They're not going to beat them, even if it was in Baton Rouge, and it may be. Yeah, so it's in.
Yeah.
No, it's in. Yeah, it's in Baton Rouge because it was
Death Valley.
It was at y'all's place last time. Sorry, I was looking at the second line.
He's confused. Don't worry.
It's like that. I'll pop it up here for you guys visually one more time, and I'll run through it. I've got Alabama in your 4 spot, Georgia in your 3 spot, Clemson 2, Ohio State 1. That's got Ohio State and Alabama playing in the semifinal game. I didn't look to see what bowl game it is, but Clemson and Georgia playing in another semifinal game. And I do think that we were reading it earlier, is a difference in bowl games this year too. Ooh. Is there's not, I think they put in a waiver. We should have talked about this in the news. Yeah. They put in a waiver to basically get rid of the criteria for being in a bowl game, because you've got like Pac-12, 7 games. Well, I think most of the time it's 500 or 6 games to be able to get in. They ain't none of them going to be in a bowl game, so we're going to see what happens with that. I should have
information for the updated or for podcast on Sunday night, Monday morning.
Yeah, I should have looked to see exactly what it was that popped up there on it afterwards. Let's see. Let me go ahead and get rid of this off of my bottom screen here so we can see. So we've gone through our picks. We've got our predictions.
Side note real quick.
All right, tell me, do you have anything else as far as our picks or anything like that goes?
The Clemson-Miami game is in 3 weeks.
Really? So we're not far from it. So you essentially, we could see Clemson play. They don't play Notre Dame till what, middle to end of the season?
Yeah. My calendar's screwing up on me. Hold on a second, guys.
It's September of 2020.
Yeah. 3 weeks they play Miami.
Well, there you go.
And then
I would love to see Miami win out until the end.
4 weeks later they play Notre Dame.
4 weeks after that, or 4 weeks from now?
4 weeks after that.
Oh, okay. Wow. So they got a pretty good gap between Notre Dame, but hey, Miami could slip up on them if they ain't careful.
Well, they're on a bye week this
Eric
week.
King looks good now.
And they got Virginia next week, and then Miami. So
that looks pretty good to me.
Looks like there may be your game of the week here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, very well possible that could be. I think I've got our scores up here. So do you have, before we move on, do you have any more as far as college football playoff, any of the games coming up this weekend? Are you pretty good on that?
We'll recap with y'all Sunday night.
Yeah, that's going to come up. We got a big show, obviously, today. We're already almost an hour and 15 minutes into this show. But, hey, what can you say? It's the start of the SEC. Start of the season, baby. So it's going to be a big one. We're going to have a big wrap-up next week. But you guys stick around because we've got our local upcoming Under the Lights segment for the high school roundup that we've got coming up.
Commercially prepared.
Yeah, go ahead and tell me that one more time, buddy. I didn't understand anything you said.
I didn't either. I'm actually prepared this week.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we've got some games. I think that we can finally roll through a couple of these. I'm gonna click on all of these. No worries on these, but we can start. Boom. I'll let you run through the games that are to come this weekend. So, on the Alabama side of things, we'll start.
Actually, tonight.
Tickers rolling on the bottom as well. Oh yeah, tonight. It's Friday night. They'll be playing. Some games have kicked off.
About an hour.
Some games have probably kicked off. Yeah.
Starting off tonight on our list. You have the 4-1 Abbeville Yellow Jackets taking on Bullitt County at 2-2. I think Abbeville's going to pretty much get the win on that one.
Yeah, hopefully so. I didn't expect the loss last week. I think to Geneva County, which was a good one.
That changes up things. You have ACA or Abbeville Christian Academy taking on Cornerstone Christian. Abbeville's sitting at 3-1. Cornerstone sitting at 2-2. Another one kind of watch out for. Mm-hmm. Continuing, you got Northside Methodist 0-1 taking on Cottonwood.
Yeah, 1-3.
Or 1-3. Sorry, I got that confused. Northside Methodist 1-3 taking on a 0-4 Cottonwood, who have had a struggling year.
I think it's going to be a pretty good game. Northside's only win was Columbia, you know. So
yeah, they ain't looking a whole lot good right now.
That's true too. And that's
Speaking of Columbia, Houston County taking on 1-4 this year. We're going to make our own side of the fence, guys.
It's okay.
Taking on Ashford, which is 0-5.
I think Columbia can go in there and upset them at home.
I hope.
I'd love
to see that.
I'd love for them.
Okay, let's be honest. Last time Columbia beat Ashford,
just a couple years ago.
Was yours? No.
They beat them a couple years ago when they were in 1A because it was such a shock that they dropped to 1A and still beat Ashford's 4A. I think, and they beat them. So
Columbia
they
needs to
did,
beat
but before
1A.
that, I was still in high school when that happened.
I think it was your senior year last time they beat them.
It very well may have been.
Continue on down, you have Rehoboth 2-2 taking on a very tough 4-1 in Wicksburg. I think Wicksburg's going to take the cake on that one.
Yeah, Wicksburg looks really good this year.
Wicksburg always looks good. They really good team there. I think my dog's right at the door. Continue on down, you have Geneva 3-2 taking on a 4-0 Geneva County. So it's a battle in Geneva County there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Geneva County is going to probably get that win. I need when you pull up the stats on that, see how that game usually turns out. I think.
Yeah, I could look at it if I click it, though we ain't gonna get through the rest. I might click on it after we go through a few of the others here. Because I think
continuing on
the last
down,
couple
you have
here.
WS Neal taking on 1-3, taking on New Brockton 1-2. And that one I think you can pretty much toss it up. Hopefully New Brockton can get the win here for the local teams.
Mm-hmm.
Another battle there just north of us actually. You have a 0-4 Headland taking on a 3-2 Dale County. Like to see the changes there. He's
I'm
going
listening.
blind, guys. Hopefully Dale County can get the win there, and I know Headland get the win there. Local team got to pull for them. Hopefully they can pull that one out. Continuing on down, you have GW Long 3-0 taking on Daleville 0-5. GW Long's looking pretty good this year. Continuing on down, Arrington 2-3 on the season, taking on a 3-1 Slocum. Providence Christian 1-3, another local team here in Houston County, taking on a 4-1 Elba. Not looking too good for the Eagles over there.
No.
You have 4-0 Brantley taking on a 3-2 Highland Home. I'm pretty sure Brantley's going to pull that one out. Brantley's usually a really tough team to play.
Might be kind of tough in Highland Home, but we'll see.
Maybe.
Brantley has looked pretty good this season.
Brantley's usually one of those teams to kind of watch out for beneath the radar.
Yeah.
Continue on, Zion Chapel 0-4 taking on 2-2 Sampson. Cairo taking on 0-3 Cairo taking on a 0-4 Dothan.
I think Cairo's coming out of Georgia.
I think so.
So
I don't think there's a Cairo, Alabama.
somebody, like we said last week in the Houston County game, at the end of that game, somebody's going to have a win in the win column.
Hopefully. Continue on down, you get Houston Academy, another local team taking on Florella. Houston Academy coming that game 2-3, Florella 4-0. Not looking too good there for the Raiders.
Looks like the game of the week right here.
The game of the week is you have your 4-1 Op taking on your 4-1 Strong. That game will be fun to watch. And
let's see. Pull up some information on the Geneva County-Geneva game. If I'm looking at it right here, they think that Geneva County should pull this one off about 38-32. So close. I want to see if I can see their latest matchups against each other, if they'll pull it up head-to-head. They're not going to show it because it's this season. It would be cool if they would show it at least in the past.
I'll pull it up real quick.
All right. I'll let you do that. And I'll start running through a couple of our Georgia scores here. While he's doing that, at least. Again, these scores should be scrolling on the bottom. Hopefully we don't have any issues. I know in the past I've had some issues with them. Let me double check back on this other page because I had some Georgia scores on here. Yeah, we got a couple games kicked off. Let me throw down to Florida real quick. Graceville and Bozeman, they have kicked off right now. At Bozeman, Holmes County, and Northview. This is actually it's not obviously Northview and Dothan is not a team anymore. So that's out of Florida. Into Georgia here, you got Miller County taking on Atkinson County. Lafayette Christian traveling to SGA over in Damascus, Southwest Georgia Academy. Pull up some of your other games here. Miller County, and that is 1-2, taking on 2-1 Atkinson. Just so you got it. Brooks County 2-0 heads to 1-1 Cook. Frederica 1-2 travels to 1-1 Tift Area Academy. I would pull up the Fitzgerald game, but I've got like 3 on here, and I'm not 100% who exactly they're playing. Moving on, though, Worth County 2-1 is going to travel to an 0-1 Rutland. Good game this upcoming weekend. You got 2-0 Gatewood traveling to 2-0 Terrell Academy. Be a fun one to watch there. Wilkinson County 0-1 travels to an 0-2 Irwin County. I think Irwin County, the Indians, are going to be looking to finally get stuff fired up there in Irwin County. You got 2-0 Crisp County traveling to ELCA. That is 2-2. Deerfield 2-1 traveling to Tatnall 2-0. Pelham 1-1 taking on 1-1 Clinch County. Hopefully that's scrolling on the bottom down there. Seminole County 0-2 traveling to 1-1 Turner County. We got somebody that is getting ready to score that one for us. Wilcox County 1-1 taking on Johnson County 2-0. Lee County, 2 of the games that I'm looking forward to this weekend, and I think I put it on our bottom scroller there. The game that I've been looking forward to, and it kicks off at 8 o'clock tonight. It could be tomorrow. I didn't look. I should have looked a little harder. It's 2-0 Valdosta traveling to 1-0 Colquitt County. Obviously, head coach Russ Probst is at Valdosta now. Came from Colquitt County. A lot of controversy in it. Brought the number 1 quarterback that we talked about in Jake Garcia from California to play for Valdosta at quarterback. Crazy story coming out of that was like how his parents had separated for him to be able to come and play. There's a lot of stuff into that, but we're not going to dive too deep into it. Game of the weekend, Valdosta traveling to Colquitt County, both of them undefeated. And the other big one this weekend is Lee County traveling to Lowndes. Lee County 2-0, Lowndes 3-0. 2 big matchups there and some high ball playing there in Georgia. One of the other ones I had pulled up, but I don't see it here, was supposed to be Baconton. They were supposed to play this weekend, and I guess I didn't write it down. So, did you pull up some info on these others?
So, the Geneva and Geneva County game record stands at 35, 42, and 2. Geneva County.
Say that number again for me.
35. No, I'm sorry. Geneva having the win there against Geneva County at all time, 45 to 30, 42 to 35 to 2. I'll get it out sooner or later, guys.
Yeah.
The last time Geneva County lost was actually last year in a 26 to 34 game. So that game seems like it's always a real tough rivalry. So have to keep an eye out and see what that is.
Yeah. That's a good one locally there to keep up. And I looked on the side here. They do have the rankings, 33 Valdosta, 35 Colquitt County, and that is in the nation, I believe. So a top 35 matchup there, not quite in the top 25. Looking at a couple of the others, Lowndes is actually ranked number 9, I think, in the country. And Lee County does not show a ranking on here. I know it seems like in the past Lee County has been playing for a national championship. Hoover comes in at number 32, 5-0, taking on 4-1 Prattville. So that'll be a good one. And you got number 1 IMG Academy, 2-0, taking on 3-2 Ravenwood. A couple just out of your top teams in high school. So one of the other ones that is already playing is number 21 Ryan, taking on number 45 Martin. Ryan is up 14-0 in the second quarter there. Let me pull up some of our other stuff. What's that?
State. Those rankings were state.
Oh, those state rankings?
Yeah, because number 9 is actually Grayson.
And they're out of Georgia, too.
They're out of Georgia.
Grayson's been good.
They got Lowndes 12.
At 12, okay. Huh, I wonder why they put it differently on there. That's kind of strange, but, hey, that is what it is. Maybe this thing will save like I want it to. I'll just get it to save like this. Or I won't get it to do anything.
Yeah, because they only have Colquitt in top 20, or top 30. So that was state rankings, not national.
Gotcha. Well, hey, that's easy enough at least. That pretty much, I think, has got us wrapped up as far as our high school under the lights segment goes for the high school roundup. And I think for the most part, buddy, that's rounding up our episode there, which has been a good one. It's been long, but it's been one worth being long because we've had so much to kind of get us ready for the start of this season.
SEC.
Yeah, that was the thing I wanted to download to be able to play us out here.
Sorry, guys.
Which, I mean, hey, at the end of the day,
we'll have it for your next podcast.
Yeah, I think it's going to be okay because I think our college football one, I think it was pretty good. I think that was a good way to end it.
Take it out.
Yeah.
Well, guys, another edition of SEC Talk with your host, Holden and Cody. Like always, follow us on Facebook, on Twitter at SECTalk20.
I'll pull it up there for you on the screen.
Message on Facebook, on Twitter. Email us at SECTalk at Gmail. No, SECTalk20 at gmail.com.
Yeah, same as the other stuff and do it on there.
And as always, if you want your high school teams, local teams, shout it out. College football teams, shout it out.
Let us know.
Email us and our new logo in the background. That's the surprise we have for y'all. we're actually gonna start doing some T-shirts.
Yeah, if you're interested, let us know. We might.
So
get you some
hopefully, I know they're working on them. Last time we talked to the manufacturers.
Yeah.
So hopefully, our next, well, it won't be next video. Probably next week. Hopefully, into next week, we'll have them available.
Yeah.
So follow us on Facebook and Twitter for that information. And as always, guys, we appreciate your listens.
Yeah. SEC Talk. Cody, Holden,
We out.
we out.